Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have our guest here today. We've all heard about working smarter, not harder. But what if I told you there was an entirely different way to approach productivity? One that's in sync with your body's natural rhythm. So I'm so excited because the expert that I have here today is helping women grow their business, but in a way that aligns with their unique energy cycles. So before I introduce our guest, I'm Kim Roth. I'm a tech and automations expert. I am high level certified admin, and I work with service based business owners who are tired of spending their nights and weekends with their laptops. They didn't go into business to become a tech expert. They just had to become a tech expert in order to do this online business space. So I really love working with them and showing them ways that they can automate their process and streamline their business so they can grow without it stressing them out on the nights and weekends. So enough about me. I am thrilled to introduce Renae Fieck. We actually met a few years ago when we were both in Beachbody. We had joined a mastermind, and that was the first time that I had ever learned about cycle syncing. And I love that Renee has been able to embrace that and figure out how it works. It's always been in the back of my mind that it's there and that I should focus on it more, but I haven't taken the time to quite figure it out. But after reading her book, I think it's time. So let me introduce her. Renee, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and your book?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I love that you brought back into like where we kind of met and started. I joke about that Sarah was my gateway drug to online business because in the space that we were in at the time was like all about Beachbody. And then Sarah was the one that was kind of like, hey, look, this is how you create an opt in. This is how you create people coming to you. And she kind of changed my perspective. And it really was the gateway for me to like leave network marketing and really start something of my own. But we learned about cycle syncing back then. This little itty bit, like I know it was a Native American tribal woman that came in and she shared about like their practices in their community, and a lot of it was a little too far woo for me. And I was like, I don't
Me,
know if I can
me
handle
too.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not going to save my menstrual blood and like sprinkle it around my tree every month and all the things. So there was just this little bit of like the back of my mind of like, what if this is something true? And I come from a science background. So I am a neonatal occupational therapist by trade. So I work with little itty bitty preemie babies. And so my mind was always in the more medical, like actual biological sort of component. But so I started just kind of like leaning in a little bit, researching a little bit, hearing a little bit. And then over time, started sharing that with my clients that I was working with at the time and noticed like it made such a huge difference in just the way we felt, the way we thought, the way we were thinking. And now to go to where there's so much research that's now supporting that women are just different than men. And that makes such a huge difference. And so over the years, I really like got to a place of it was kind of in that season that I was still trying to juggle Beachbody and still trying to build my thing that I really got like to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I felt so burned out and felt so stretched and so tapped out. My husband had a brain tumor. We went through tons of medical stuff that year. I had three babies under the age of six and was just like, I desperately want so badly to make this business a reality and to be able to have the freedom and the time. But being as busy as we were and as much that I had on my plate, I didn't feel like I had the capacity to give it what everybody was telling me I needed to do. And I would notice these days when I go like all in, I'd be gung ho, I'd be getting up early, I'd be working late at night, I'd feel really great. And then a week or two later, I'd be like, I'm losing my mind. I am overwhelmed. I can't do this anymore. I'm burning everything down. Why is this happening to me? And just started noticing the trends. And like once I started really leaning into it and shifting in it and learning so much more about how women and men are different, it made such a huge game changer for me. So that's where now I kind of blend the passion that I have for business in the passion I have for like the medicine and the holistic side of me. I'm definitely, my daughter calls me like a crunchy mom because I was like definitely in that crunchy mom era. I really do lean into more of these holistic things, but I do like the science backing and I like the woo. So it's like, how can I blend and merge all of these things together in this one practice that makes such a huge difference for women?
Yeah. I know when you're talking about like that cycle, I mean, that is one where I'm usually aware of that because there's one point in my cycle about once a month where I start getting all of the feels like, can
Yeah.
I do this? Should I be
Mhm.
doing this? Maybe I should go get a job. And it's like that
Yeah.
constant, it's cyclical. I mean, it comes
Yeah.
around every month. And I remember like various people saying, when you feel that way, do not burn your business down.
Yes. Yes.
And once I started to realize that, okay, so like this is just a feeling, it's all of those inner emotions coming up and bubbling up, and that I just need to note them
Yeah.
and continue on.
Yeah.
So the one thing in the book, and I do have the copy of the book
Yeah.
here. Oh, well,
Your
we'll
your
share
shirt
then.
matches your shirt matches the
Oh, it
color.
does.
Look at that.
And I will
You were
share the link and everything so like you guys can check it out. But the one thing at the beginning where you talked about a man's energy cycle compared to a woman's, that hooked me right away. So can you like kind of tell the
Yeah,
audience a little bit about that?
for sure. So I think that when we like most of us have like these hormone we backtrack. We have these hormones in the underlying like how we operate, right? So just like our computer that we have right now, you and I are both operating on Zoom. Whoever is watching us is using a phone or a computer or something. We have these background systems that are keeping everything running, right? Like we have the software and the hardware and all the pieces. We have those same things in our body that are happening all the time. And chances are, just like our computers, we don't really pay attention to them unless something goes awry and something's going wrong. But how it really works is that that operating system that we have is very different than how men have. So men have testosterone, which is their predominant hormone that functions every single month, and it operates on a daily schedule. So they tend to have very high testosterone levels in the morning, and they have these up and down patterns as the day goes on. And then towards the end of the day, they're a little bit depleted. So if you have a male partner and they come home and spend an hour on the toilet at the end of the day, it's because they've gotten to the point where their energy's depleted. They just need a little bit of a rest and a recharge and a little pick me up, right? So that's how men typically operate. And it goes the same pretty much every single day. They might have some variances, like, right? Like, just like we do. If there's bad days, good days, we're going to have some variation consistently over the days from Monday through Friday, January through September, it's going to be pretty consistent. Now, women, we function on a monthly schedule. So our estrogen is and progesterone are fluctuating throughout the 30 days or 28 days or whatever your cycle is. And estrogen and progesterone feel very different. So estrogen feels a little bit more like that testosterone. It feels a little bit more like I'm going to go get big goals. I'm going to do these big things. I'm going to take big action. I'll talk with all the people. I'm going to say yes to everything because I'm super excited about everything. And then progesterone kicks in, and progesterone's like, no, we want to just lay in our pajamas and curl back on the back couch and like, don't make me talk to anybody. And why the heck did I say yes to this? I don't want to do this. Like, so two totally different hormone styles. And so when we look at that and we look at like where you are on day 7 versus day 14 versus day 21 or wherever you're at, you're going to be a very different person depending on what that cocktail of estrogen progesterone ratio you have. And so there's not a single day in your entire 30 days where you're going to have exactly the same level of hormones as another day. So it's really important for women to understand that and know that there are going to be days when you're going to want to say yes. Just make sure you don't say yes to something when you're going to be in that progesterone zone, like when you're going to be somewhere where you don't want to do it, or just knowing like how that shift is changing so that you can align your to-do list and align your tasks, align your things, and give yourself a little bit more grace. Like there's going to be those days when you just don't feel like doing it. And in the past, or like using that more consistent male testosterone type of systems, those are going to make you think like there's something wrong with you. Like you've got to be consistent every day. Like you've got to show up all the time in order to grow your business. But when we start to look at how women function, it is just very different. So it's like, how do we accommodate so that your business continues to move, right? Business is a consistent thing. Like your business has to consistently move. Like you can't put stuff out on social media for like a month and then come back like 6 months later and hope that your business is going to keep growing. Like that's not how it works. But you don't have to operate in that same way. Like you don't have to operate consistently every single day. which we could pull in your systems and your automations. Like, what systems and automations do we need to have in place so that you can show up when you're feeling prime, but then your business continues to ripple out as you go, or those types of things. But it really is looking at like, where is your strength based on where you are in your cycle? How do we tap into that so that you're not forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like doing it? And you're not forcing yourself to do something when it's out of alignment. It's like, we've all been there where we sit down and try to write sales copy or write an email or something. And it's like, this just won't come. Like, I can't get it out. Like, it's not happening. And you sit there and you rewrite and you rewrite and you rewrite. And you're like, this sucks. And it's like a week ago, could have busted this email out in 10 minutes. It would have been juicy and so good. Like, why is this happening? So it's just really understanding like your brain changes. Like, going back, there's more studies now that are showing like the actual parts of your brain are different parts are activated at different times of your month. So like that really emotional time versus the time when you think very clear and very creatively, or the time you're thinking more logically, or when you feel like you have more brain fog, or you feel like you have writer's block, or like all those pieces and parts that you're like, I feel this way. It's not in your head. It's like, well, it is technically in your head. It's like actually biologically happening. And so rather than fighting it, we lean into it. And that's when we become way more powerful.
So a couple of things that popped out at me was like, because I have found myself like where I have to get an email out or I have to get social content out or I have to do it. And you're sitting there and it just feels what do you do when you still have to get it out? I mean, because there's that. Like, how do you get past that? And then the other side of it is, okay, so I know, like based on my cycle, that there's better times for that. So that's kind
Mhm.
of like my second question. Like, how do you get started with this? Because,
Yeah.
and this is where I got hung up on it in the past was like, I still have a business to function. Like, I still
Yeah.
have calls to make. I have to get on sales calls. I have to put these emails out. Like, how do I make time in order to figure out when the best time is to do it with my cycle? Because I
Yeah,
still have to keep going.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
how do we get past that? Like getting started and also not trying to force things.
Yeah. Well, I would say first off, like it can feel very overwhelming, right? Like when we look at everything that could be synced with our cycle, like we could sync literally everything. Like you could sync, your exercise, your food, your schedule, like when you have sex with your partner, like literally everything could be synced up with your cycle. And when we approach it from that place, it can feel very like, oh my gosh, there's so much to change. Or maybe you still have a 9 to 5 job that you're working to, and you're like, well, I can't sync any of that. Like, I have to go to work every day. Maybe you're like me and you have 3 kids that are
Mhm.
literally driving you everywhere well, I'm driving them from 3 until 9 o'clock at night every single day with soccer's and things like that. And maybe that's where you're at. And you're like, I can't just drop everything the week of my period and say, "Hey, this is my rest week. I'm not doing anything." Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes like, what can you shift? Like, where can you just become more aware? Like, one of the questions I have all my clients ask is every single day is, what do I need today? Like, where am I at? So that could be physically, that could be emotionally, that could be spiritually, it could be a variety, mentally, emotionally. What is it that you need? And I think that just beginning to do that will change everything because so many of us are just caught in this like constant go mode all of the time. And we're always trying to just keep up with everything that's coming our way. When we got so many things that just that pause of reflection of like, where am I? And like, what do I really need can be a huge game changer because it could be such subtle, little, small shifts. Like you said, I've still got to make sales calls today. I've still got to do these things, but I'm smack dab in the middle of my period week and I'm feeling tapped out.
Mm.
So that little bit of a pause can do just enough to be like, okay, I have this 5 minute window between these two sales calls rather than just like trying to cram in 5 more minutes of work in between these calls. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to take a couple big deep breaths in the sun. I'm going to go walk around my, house for a second, like get a glass of water. Like I'm going to make sure that I'm recharging my cup because I know right now I'm in a space when I'm going to be energy depleting. Like overarching, like that recharge week, that menstrual phase, you're just like energy is getting sucked from you in so many different ways, physically and just emotionally. Like you came off that luteal phase. That luteal phase is like emotional wreck for a lot of women. So like you come out of that phase into your menstrual phase, you're like, I've just had a heavy emotional week. Now I'm feeling a physical week. Like you're just drained. And so knowing that it's all about being very intentional. Where are you plugging in those small pockets of recharging? It would be amazing if you could say, I'm not making dinner this week and I'm just ordering takeout, or I've got my stuff pre planned, or I'm going to use paper plates or whatever it is. But it doesn't have to be. It can be like just small little windows, small little pockets, and just that intentionality can make a huge difference. So I think regardless of where you're at, like what you feel like you can change, if you just start tracking and just start noticing your body. Our bodies are speaking to us every single day. It's like this language of our bodies. Most of us have not been taught to listen to it. Most of us have been taught to eat a certain way, sleep a certain way, work a certain way, exercise a certain way. We've been taught to do it in these containers that are really designed to be these like mass containers for everybody. But you and I both know our bodies are totally different. Our lives are totally different. Our businesses are totally different. So there's not going to be a plug and play system that's going to work for every single person in the world. So this really is about like, how do we start listening to your body, start tuning back in so that you can adjust and align with that, even if it's making micro shifts. The micro shifts actually make sometimes the biggest difference for women. So I think that's a big thing. And then your other question, your first question, did I
Forcing,
answer?
like,
Oh, forcing.
yeah,
I was like, I know there was something in there.
yeah,
Yeah, there's gonna be times, right? Like women are absolutely amazing. Like I love the conversation around cycle syncing because a lot of times women will take it to this place of, oh, well, I can't do it this week because I'm on my period. And I'm like, no, you can. It just may not be as effective. It just may not be as great, right? We've seen generations of women making incredible strides in politics, in business, in whatever you want to say, doing it a very masculine way. Like women can do it that way. It's totally possible. It's just like, what are the costs that that's causing at the end, or like their physical health, or their relationships, or their energy, or how they think about themselves, or whatever. So it is possible. So let's just put that there. A lot of times that is coming from a place of forcing, right? Like they've had to force their way through times when they didn't feel it, or they've had to force themselves when they didn't feel the energy. And so it's possible we can do it. It's just one, not going to be as effective, and could, if we continue to stay in that space, have long term effects of burnout, lost relationships, things like that. So it really is like looking at I can actually like this. I'm in the middle of a book launch. And so not only on the book launch, but I launched a big mastermind the last couple of weeks. And so I'm like, I launched a mastermind. Now I'm in a book launch. Like I'm like in heavy like work mode. So I'm getting up early, going to bed late, like plugging in stuff in every small crack. Like some of the stuff that I like talk about, I'm like, people don't have to work this way. It's like I'm in a season of working that way, but I know that the season's not going to last forever. So I think that that's another big piece of it, is looking at how do can we force ourselves if we need to, or like hustle in those modes if we have to, but also know like there has to be a stopping point. So like I know come a certain date, I'm taking a rest and I'm pulling back and I'm not going to sustain this forever. So that's a big part of it. And then in those modes, when we're in that space of like, we have to get this done, right? Like there's been plenty of times where I'm
mhm,
like, I have to get this done. It's
yeah,
looking at like, how can we adapt and modify those things? Whether it's social media. Okay, I can create social media content making B-roll so I don't have to be on camera, or I can make a static image post or something else where like I can be in my pajamas and not showing any part of my face or like anything for me. It feels doable for me, right? Versus me getting on and doing a talking head talking sort of video
mhm.
would not feel possible. So it's like, where in that spectrum of like, okay, the task is I've got to get the social media out, but I'm feeling at a really low point. I don't want to talk on camera. I'm not feeling really great. So like, where can I accommodate to get that task done? So it's kind of looking at like all the tasks like that. Do we adapt the task, or do we adapt your energy? And like, how do we ride that kind of wave so that it's aligning, so that it's not completely depleting and draining you and still allowing you to move things forward?
I love that
Yeah.
because one of the things that I look at is like when I start to feel like I'm forcing it, and then it pops in my head like, all right, like if I would have just done this yesterday when I felt like writing the email, then I wouldn't be forcing it today, but I didn't have time to do it yesterday. And I've noticed like when I acknowledge that it's being forced, if I just get up and go for a walk, or I get up and
Mhm.
I do a meditation, or I kind of like step away from it for a
Yeah.
little bit. And that I think is where that question comes in. Like, what do I need
Yeah.
today? Like, what do I
Yes.
need to do for myself so that I can
Mhm.
get this done. And then a lot of times I can come back and I can at
Mhm.
least get it done. Would it
Yeah.
be as great as like as it would have been yesterday or last week? Probably not, but it's done and I feel okay with it. So I love that when you say just about like checking in with yourself, for what do you need today? And then also looking at that task and being like, okay, how can I do it differently in order
Mhm.
to align with what I need today or how my cycle is this week? So
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
that because that helps. The awareness, I think, is huge in just
Mhm.
being aware of, where you're at in your cycle and how you're feeling
Yeah.
that day.
Like, even if nothing changes, even if you don't do anything with your calendar, even if you don't do anything in your life, just that sense of like, I'm losing my ish right now. Oh, it's because I'm in my luteal phase. Okay. Got it. Mental note. Because oftentimes we like lose our ish and we're like, why? Why is this happening? Why am I like this? Why am I like, I'm the world's worst parent. I'm the world's worst
No?
business owner. And then we spiral out. But just that awareness of being like, oh, I'm in my luteal phase. Okay, this week might be a little bit more feely and I might lose my ish a little bit more. Like, okay, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
you know, even, I mean, like that is starting point number one. And that can even make such a huge difference.
Yes. Yeah. Like just being
Yes.
aware of where you're at and how do you start like, and I know you mentioned it in the book, but how do you start tracking like your cycles? What is the best way to just kind of like start? So I'm interested in doing this. How do I know where I'm at? Especially like for me, because I'm perimenopausal. So sometimes I have no idea where I'm at in my cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say number one, there's two pieces of your cycle that are really important to kind of pay attention to. And one of them's our periods, which is kind of like a duh, like that one.
Mhm.
But a lot of women are not tracking their ovulation. And ovulation is actually the bigger player and the indicator as to like what's actually happened. So when ovulation happens, then the period comes generally like 10 to 14 weeks later. So, depending on where you are in your menstruation years or status, if you're like in that prime childbearing age kind of range and you should be menstruating, but you're not having regular periods, like tracking ovulation can be incredibly helpful for you to understand like why, like what is happening. Is it a hormone imbalance? Is it cortisol? Is there something else? Like what's anatomical, physiological? Like what is the reasoning behind that? So I think it can be really great information for you to be able to take to your doctor and be a better advocate for your health of like what's actually happening. Women should not have irregular cycles. Like the amount of irregular cycles that I encounter is just like
Mhm.
obscene and shouldn't be it shouldn't be happening. Even yesterday I was at acupuncture and I was telling my acupuncturist about my book and she was like, "This is so amazing." And I said something about painful periods and she's like, "Yeah, no woman should have to experience painful periods. Like
Yeah.
pain should not be something that we have to live with."
Mhm.
But yet we've been conditioned to believe it's just part of the process. So that would be number one, would be like checking ovulation because and especially too like as you enter into perimenopause your cycles might get longer, they might get more delayed. Ovulation to your period doesn't change. So if you knew when that point happens, you're like, okay, I know what's happening, like I know when that next period phase is going to come. Perimenopause definitely and menopause gets a little bit different because it might get extended, so you're like, which phases get longer, like how does this work? And so in those situations I definitely recommend following the moon. One, it's like follows the same monthly rhythm that women have, and the sun has the same daily rhythm that men have. So I think that's not coincidental. Like it was designed that way. So I think women are just designed to operate more in that monthly cycle. And I think sometimes what happens is as we're going through that transition and things are getting off kilter, like we get off kilter, right? Like our hormones are all over the place, our bodies are all over the place. I have a theory and like I have yet to have somebody like actually go all the way through it. But like I have a theory that if more women synced up with the moon in that phase, that going through it would be simpler and easier because like our bodies are so smart. Like they learn based off the habits we give it, right? Like if you've ever tried intermittent fasting, not my favorite thing. I'm not a lover of intermittent fasting, but if you've tried it, you know that like if you're used to eating at 7 o'clock in the morning every day and you wake up and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not going to eat until 10, you're gonna be hangry for quite a while. And then eventually your body says, okay, we don't eat at 7 anymore. We eat at 10. And so it's not going to be hungry in the morning anymore. Right. So our body's the same, like waking up. If you're like a 8 o'clock waker and all of a sudden you're like, I want to wake up at 5 a.m. First few weeks, you're probably going to hit snooze a lot. And then eventually your body's going to remember and it's going to start waking up before the alarm even goes off at 5 o'clock, right? Our bodies are so adaptable to the habits that we're giving it. And so it's important to look, are those habits set up to support the cycle? And if our habits are set up to support the cycle, all the cycle, transitioning through the cycle into menopause, all those types of things, I think it'll run so much more smoothly because that was the way we were ultimately designed to run.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered fully,
Yes,
but
it
yeah.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think the key thing is, like you said before, asking yourself what you need today
Mhm.
and starting to really just take notes. Like to
Yeah.
just get started would be just acknowledging what I needed today, how I felt, and then like where I'm at in my cycle
Mhm.
or like where I am in the moon cycle. And
Yeah.
I have been learning more about the moon and you're right, like how really and truly like how nature and
Yeah.
how we react to it, like I really believe like we need to start focusing more on that
100%.
because our bodies and nature are meant to work together and
Yeah.
support us and
Yeah.
take care of us.
Yeah. And I mean, like, this is the whole conversation. Like, I just love like talking about it, but like, we look at like the earth, right? Like, especially in the United States, our soils are so depleted. We have like the nutrient density levels that are in our soils now versus that were in there 10, 20 years ago is significantly less. So the food that we're eating, even the apple that we're eating today is completely different than an apple that was eaten 20 years ago. The nutrients that's in it is not the same. And a part of that is because we've been forcing crops, fields to
Mhm.
produce over and over and over and over again for extended periods of time. We're forcing Mother Nature to work harder than it's supposed to, like outside of what it's naturally intended to do. So, what's happening is Mother Nature is burning out. Like, Mother Nature
Yeah.
is losing their steam, right?
Yeah.
So, like, let's take a look back and look at this. It's like Mother Nature wasn't intended to run this way. We were not intended to run this way. The entire way our world and systems were operating is in this very cyclical pattern of seasons, it's seasonality. And like when we can lean into that of like the seasonality of living, it changes. I think it'll change Earth, it'll change us, it'll change our businesses, it'll change everything. So,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. You are definitely right
Yeah.
in that. So the other thing, I want to tie it back to automations because I
Mhm.
mean, that's what I do and that's what I believe in. And you touched on it a little bit as to like, as you build automations into your business, it really makes those days where you don't feel like 100% and you know you need to adjust your business. And so having some automations in place really makes your business run smoother. And I've
Yeah.
been blessed to like give some trainings on how to automate your business or how to even navigate software because there's so many different softwares out there that we can use. Like that in itself becomes overwhelming, not
Yeah.
knowing what to use or how to figure out how to make it work in my business. And so when I say the word automate, what comes to mind?
Ooh, for me, I think for me, automation comes from that place of how can I delegate the things or automate, right? Either
Mhm.
delegate or
Yeah,
automate.
delegate
That's
too. Hmm.
yeah, the things that are taking my time and energy that are not best where I'm meant to serve. So when we look at like any of those repeated tasks or those things that we do, like how can we get those off our plate so that you can stay in your energetic zone and like in that creative zone or in that workflow zone? And I think it really comes into play when we look at the cycle because there are going to be times where you're going to feel like A plus on your game. Like yesterday, I created so much social media content. Like I felt like crap writing the content, but like creating the reels, creating the images, like whatever I created. And I told somebody yesterday, I'm like, I'm putting out like 4 pieces of content a day. Like I am going all in right now. So I like created so much content and it feels great. But I know like in a week or two, I'm not going to want to do that. So it's like, how can I use automations or systems that's going to help pummel that stuff out so that when I'm feeling so in this and I'm feeling so ready, I can like get all the stuff together and do it. Right. So that's like one way of automation is like when you're in the zone, get all the stuff done. The other automation I think is looking at like where is taking my time and energy that doesn't need to be, that this is like where I can be staying in my zone. Because I think that is a big part of business is that people get bogged down in the busy work. I see it all the time. It's not a pet peeve. It's one of my things. I don't know what you would call it, but when I hear new business owners saying like, "Oh, well, I'm just working on my website." And it's like, that's not the best way and the best use of your time as a brand new business owner. Like it just isn't. I believed it. I did it. I was in that boat. And like now I'm coming back and be like, okay, where do we actually need to be spending your time? So I think a lot of times as especially early business owners and especially as those entrepreneurs that are stuck in those like hustling sort of states and they're like spending a lot of time on things like even me, like that is my goal this year. We should actually talk. My goal this year the beginning of the year was like simplify and automate. Like, how can I simplify my systems? How can I automate my systems? How can I make an easier workflow and streamline things? So, like, everything in my business this year, we've been making SOPs. Like, how can we make an SOP for absolutely everything so that anybody could come in here and pick it up? Or where is there something that we could put a system in place that would like take care of this? Like, that has been my goal this year because I know that the only way for me to scale and grow is to get rid of all those busy tasks. So,
Yep.
like, looking at where in your business you can get rid of any of those busy tasks makes such a huge difference.
Yes. Yes. You're speaking my love language
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
it always starts with an SOP because you have to capture like what is it you're doing now? Because then that starts to show. I mean, because I did it in my business this year too, and we are looking at different things. I worked with somebody to write the SOP, and like next to it was like Kim, Kim, Kim. And she's like, all
Yeah.
right, first step, you need to get rid of all of these Kim tasks. And
Yeah.
some of them are pieces that I could delegate to somebody else. And some of them were pieces where I'm like, yeah, we've always been meaning to automate that. And she's like, then just get it automated.
Mhm.
And so, finding the software and setting it up so that I can just click a button or when somebody purchases, like those emails go out and all of that information just goes out on its own without me having to sit there and
Yeah.
type it up or go
Yeah.
find the last email that I wrote out or counting on somebody else to do it because,
Yeah.
if it's something that can be automated, it's nice just to have it done because when you delegate some of that stuff, I mean, if something happens in their life, a child gets sick or their dog gets sick or, anything happens and they're delayed in getting that done. If it's just automated, you're good to go.
Yeah. For
So,
sure.
one last question, and
Yeah.
then I'll let you go. What is the first thing you automated in your business, or what is something that you wish you could automate? Either one.
Mhm. The first thing I probably automated was probably emails, right? Like once somebody comes in on a landing page and then connects to the email funnel and things. And that has actually been my this year is like really going all in on my email funnel. It's like probably really complicated. And somebody told me recently, she's like, you probably need to just simplify everything in your business and get away from these complicated email funnels. But that has been a goal this year. It's like, how can I really narrow in on my funnel to make sure that I'm like taking people on the journey that I want to take them on?
Mhm.
So that's probably my big thing. What would I like to automate? I don't know. I mean, I honestly like would love a better system for my social media. Like social
Mhm.
media is not my favorite thing to create. I mean, I love creating social media, but and like I said, I'm in a social production
Yeah.
sort of mode,
Yeah.
but it's like that never ending hamster wheel of feeling like I'm creating content and then not. So I think particularly for me this year and looking towards the end of the years, I'm looking at ways of like, how can I make this more effective than what I'm doing? So I've been like playing and testing with YouTube and creating long form content and
Yeah.
things like that instead of doing the Instagram game. But yeah,
Yeah. I think repurposing comes up a lot there.
yeah,
Just looking at the content that you're creating that you can just turn around and repurpose, especially on the weeks where you don't feel
yeah,
like creating content and showing up. So
yeah.
it's really nice to have that repurposing going on there. And I think the long form content,
Mhm.
the YouTube and the videos, like the blog posts, like those are the key pieces
Yeah.
that you can continue to share and bring new eyes to
Yeah,
without you having to go out there and create the reel and create the post and take the pictures and all of the stuff that
I
goes with
know.
social media.
Like a never ending game, right?
It is a
So,
never ending game.
yeah,
So, so thank you so much for
thank you.
I love all of what you taught us today. And I can't wait to continue to talk with you about your book and everything that you're doing in your business and to help women figure out the cycle and how to better live their life and have a better business that doesn't burn them out. Because we've all been there multiple times, I'm sure, where it's just, yeah, it's a hamster wheel of social media and emails,
Yes.
sales
Yes.
calls. And so if any way that can make that easier is a definite benefit. So hop on Renee's email list. Her book is here. So you definitely want to get this. And we will have all of that information posted with the video. So thank you,
Okay.
Renee, for being with me.
Thank you. Thanks so much.